Moth Goddess. Ashlee Clark Thompson, Moth Goddess. So she hosts the Moth Story Slam competition and is a member of the board of Louisville Literary Arts. She's also a senior associate editor at CNET, so this is a literary superstar in our midst, and she's the author of the book Louisville Diners and creator of the food blog Ashlee Eats. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Ashlee Clark Thompson!
No pressure or anything. I definitely took a big sip of my bourbon and ginger after that introduction. So, first of all, can we thank David and Randy for putting this event on? You guys are awesome. Okay, so did you know that you can quit a sorority? It's true. You can. They market it as like a lifelong sisterhood. But in reality, you really just have to do three things. You contact the main office, you tell them that you no longer want to be on the national roster, and you stop paying your dues. I know this because I am a sorority dropout. And a lot of people don't know that about me, but when I first started college, I went to Western Kentucky University, just right down the road, and I was only 17 years old. And I was just so nervous being away from home for the first time and still being really young and naive. And, I started working for the school paper, and that was fun, and I got along with everybody there. And I got along with the women on my hall, just fine, but I wanted to belong to a group. I wanted to feel like I was a part of something that, I don't know, maybe I could find my niche being away from home for the first time. So I came across a flyer my first semester, freshman year, about an organization. And I'm not going to name this organization because, legal. But it ticked off all these boxes for me. You see, this organization was a service sorority, not a social sorority. So a service sorority, that means there's no house, there's no parties, and you're dedicated to volunteering in the community all the time. Now, I was a 17-year-old nerd, so no parties and no house to have them in, plus volunteering? Yes, sign me up. I thought this organization would be exactly what I was looking for. So I went to a couple of interest meetings, and the next thing I know, I am pledging for this sorority. Now, even though it was a service sorority, they fashioned themselves like the social sororities. Like I said, there was a pledge period, and I had to get to know my line sisters, the other women who wanted to join this sorority as well. And as I got to know them, that's when I should have spoken to my 17-year-old self and said, "Self, you and these bitches aren't going to get along." So, first of all, like I said, I was a very young, naive 17-year-old, and these were not young, naive women. They had seen a thing or two that I hadn't seen, and that's fine. But then one of them told me that I talked too much, and then another one, made me give her rides all the time because, I was her line sister, so I should give her rides, but she would always want to eat Subway in my car, and not just like a plain little, BLT or whatever, but she always had this combination of black olives, mayo, and that shredded lettuce that on more than one occasion dropped in glops in my car, and so my car had this really messy smell, and I just, in general, didn't have a lot in common with these young women. And as we're going further and further along in the pledge process, I also realized that their intentions for joining the sorority were a lot different than mine. Some of them wanted and told me outright, "Oh, I'm just joining this sorority to practice for being in a social sorority." Because at the time, you could be in a service in a social sorority. So while I'm over here, a former Junior Red Cross volunteer and volunteered at the Science Center and just really excited about helping the community, these gals were like, "Yeah, I just need practice for pledging for when I do the real thing." And the pledging itself was modeled after a social sorority. And I don't know if hazing is the right word. They never put any hands on us, but did we get calls in the middle of the night where we had to go to a big sister's house and be there in less than 5 minutes? Did we have to be able to recite the names, birthplaces, and year in school of each of our line sisters and our big sisters? Did we have to do leg lifts and squats when we got those answers wrong when our big sisters asked us? Yes, all of that we had to do. But still, 17-year-old me said, maybe things will get better after we're in the sorority. So we went through about 8 weeks of sleepless nights and being told we're not allowed to go to social events because we got the names of our sorority sisters wrong, and not being able to like wear our hair out and having to cover it up and not wear nice clothes because we didn't deserve to. We finally got the word from our big sisters that, congratulations, you're in the sorority. And I was elated. I was like, finally, these weeks of hell are over and it's going to be worth it. I'm going to have my sisters. We're going to be sisters. And so I was so excited. And like the next day, I went to the campus bookstore and I was looking for my organization's like swag, if you will, okay? Like the keychains and the cups and the koozies and all that. So I'm looking in the Greek corner of the campus bookstore and I don't see any of our stuff. So I walk over to another student who works there, and I'm like, hey, I'm looking for organization's name, merchandise, but I can't find it anywhere. And bless her heart, she was sweet as could be, and she said, oh, well, some of the items have come up missing, so we decided to put it all in this glass case, because they're coming up missing. And I was taken aback because coming up missing means stolen. Okay, I think she was from like further south in Kentucky than I am. And so she really tried to make it nice. And she was even like, but it makes it more convenient because all your stuff is in one place. But at that moment, I was so embarrassed. And even though I had been ridiculed and put down during all those weeks of being pledged, it was that moment I realized that the women who I've joined this organization with are not good people. And it turned out there were 44 items with our organization's insignia, so keychains, cups, and koozies that were missing. And I had to decide, do I want to have to go to the campus bookstore and go to the glass case just to get something with this organization's name on it that represents to me the fact that a bunch of us are thieves? Or do I want to walk away? And I was still 17, I was still young, and it took me a few months, but I stopped going to sorority meetings and and I stopped talking to my line sisters and big sisters and stopped giving them rides just because I was a freshman with a car. And then the summer after my freshman year, I was like, I can't do this. So I sent an email to one of the biggest big sisters in the chapter, and I said, yeah, this isn't my jam. So how can I not be a part of this anymore? And she said, oh, it's easy. Just notify the main office, ask them to take your name off the roster, and stop paying your dues. Fortunately, my dues were only $50 a year, but I think it's worth it to learn that not every flock is something you need to belong to. And it's okay to fly solo. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Ashlee. That was amazing. And I was thinking, I went to college and I did not join a sorority, and this is not a slam. If you joined a sorority, please forgive me. But my friends and I were a little anti-sorority in college, and there was I don't know what that week, I guess finals week, and they were all making inspirational signs for each other, I hope you do well in this final, and we're really rooting it, and it really bugged my roommate and me for some reason. And so I was so annoyed with it, and I was like, I'm going to go poop, because that's how we were in college. I was like, we told each other everything. And when I got back, my roommate, Katie, had made this really flowery, beautiful sign that said, Randy, I hope you had an amazing poop on my door. And I still have it to this day. And so it's I get it. I could never join that flock. It wasn't for me.
The sorority, the service sorority that steals, it's like a fucked up Shel Silverstein parable or something like that. And I was never in a fraternity because none of them ever wanted me. Okay, on to the next story.